Hello, everyone, and welcome today to Exclusive. And I am thrilled to get to interview one of my heroes,
Bless
Mr.
your
Johnny
heart.
Minick.
Thank you, sir. Glad to meet you.
As most
Glad
of
to be
you
with
know, Mr. Minick you played piano with the Happy Goodmans
I
back
did.
in the day. Then you sang a trio with the Happy Goodmans. Then now you're with Goodman Revival,
Right.
present day.
Yeah.
So you have been through gospel music for many years.
I am.
And you're also a pastor.
I am. Yeah, this is the third version of Goodman's I've been in. So
Wow. That's
We've
amazing.
had a
And
good
it's
time.
going strong.
it is. It's kind of a surprise to us in the fact that it wasn't anything that was planned. It just something the Lord put in front of us to do, and we felt like it was His will for us to do it, and we, of course, enjoy singing the music that we grew up on and has meant so much to us throughout the years.
That's true. And you do a great job doing
Well, thank you.
Now, what were some really big influences that were prevalent in your life growing up?
Actually, I was trained in my primary years, from the time I was 7 till I was 17. I played classical music.
Wow, okay.
So I took lessons from the pianist for the Arkansas Symphony Orchestra.
Wow.
And so I was doing Mozart and Beethoven and all of the
classics,
right?
Yes.
But at the same time, I grew up in a full gospel church, and I loved gospel music. And but training-wise, I come up through the classics, and it affected my playing, of course,
Right.
through the years. And when the Goodmans heard me play the first time, we actually opened for them with a group that I started back when I was 15 years old.
Okay.
And I was mainly playing, then I didn't do much singing. So when they heard me play, Rusty and Sam come up to me after the show and said, we sure would love for you to entertain playing for the Goodmans someday.
Wow.
Well, I was still in high school, so
Right.
I wasn't going to quit school to do it. But when I graduated, I entertained the thought, and they called, and we got together, and it happened. By the time I was 18, I was playing with them.
Wow. All of that just from a few comments.
Yeah.
So how long did you play with the Happy Goodmans?
Well, off and on, my relationship with them started in '74, and I played with them the rest of their lives. So it covered Vestal, I think, passed in 2002, or 2003.
Okay.
So that a number
Number
of
of
years.
years. Can you tell us, I've always wondered myself, what was the story surrounding how Howard and Vestal wanted to start a trio? Was that just planned, or was it accidental?
Well, in 1990, all the group got back together. They had been separated for a long time. In 1980, they kind of retired from being the Happy Goodman family as a quartet. Howard and Vestal invested their time in ministry, pulpit ministry, and doing revivals.
And they
things
did
like that.
2 albums, I believe,
Right.
as a duet, maybe more.
And Rusty and Sam kept a group going for a little while, and then Rusty kind of went off into more of a solo thing, and then included Tanya and what he called the family band.
Okay. That was the song that was written
right.
as well, yes.
So in 1990, they decided to do a reunion recording, and they called me, asked me to play on that and help
so
produce
you
it.
played on that?
Yes.
Wow.
They asked me to sing along with them on some of the tunes.
Okay.
And so we all got back together, and that project was nominated for a Grammy Award.
Wow.
It was just a blessing to be back together. We had a great time doing that record.
It
But
was.
Rusty had already been diagnosed with cancer, and Sam was not well. He was suffering from emphysema. So later on in 1990, Rusty in November passed away, and then 11 months later, Sam passed away.
Wow.
So Howard and Vestal were living in Brentwood, Tennessee,
Okay.
and in '92, well, the first part of '93, I moved to Smyrna, Tennessee, which is not very. I mean, they're all bedroom communities
Right.
of Nashville. So when I started the church there in Smyrna, they came over to the church to worship there, and
So you started that in 19.
'93.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it had been started quite that long.
And we'd get together and while they were at church, and we'd sing some of the old songs. And
Kind of like Goodman Revival.
yeah, and it sounded like it's supposed to sound. And they said, this is pretty neat. And then Bill Gaither heard it and invited us to come do it on one of the videos. And then he said, I'm going to take this out on the road. You guys come and sing as a part of our homecoming family. So for the rest of their lives, we had about a 10-year run.
Wow.
Before Howard passed away, and I preached both of their funerals, and was just blessed to be a part of helping them do what they love to do, and they, I have to say their son Rick played a vital role in helping them to keep everything together and be able to sing the rest of their days. He managed their ministry and did a wonderful job of just keeping things together for them.
That's great. That's really great. Do you have any type special testimony or anything you like to share normally with people that ask you about your gospel music experience or your road stories in general? Do you have anything you really like to tell them in general?
Well, after this, I'm celebrating this year 50 years in pulpit ministry.
Wow.
So
amazing.
You asked me if I have something to share. I've been sharing for 50 years about the love of God.
The greatest message ever told.
I love to tell people, and especially talented people. I get a lot of folks your age. How do I get involved in
that was actually going to be a
songs?
question.
How do I get involved in gospel music or whatever?
Okay.
The number one thing is just to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength,
Yes.
and let Him open the door. And whatever door that is, do it with all you've got, because a lot of times He'll start you in one place and then open another door and then open another door and open another door, because our steps are ordered of the Lord.
They are.
They are. If we acknowledge Him, the Scripture says, in all of our ways, He will direct our path. So we don't have to get out here and promote ourselves.
That's true.
He's the best promoter there is.
That's true.
So just do it with all you've got and love the Lord with all your heart, and He'll make a way.
Wonderful advice. Wonderful. So after the final Stand album and Howard and Vestal's type passing, so did you just kind of transition back into full-time ministry for pastoral work?
Yeah, well, I never really
Totally
left that. No,
Right.
I would be gone on Thursday night and Friday night and Saturday night singing with them.
Oh,
But we had an agreement. Bill Gaither and I had an agreement, and the Goodmans, that they needed to have me home in time to preach on Sunday morning. So they honored that. A lot of times Bill Gaither would fly me in his private jet back home to make sure I got home, and Howard and Vestal and Rick honored the fact that I was pastoring a church, and
that's great.
and they made sure I got home. So I never, I never
Really
let up on my pastoral role, and so I kept that going. But when they passed away, we all thought the legacy of the Goodmans, it was a rich legacy, but there wasn't really a mantle for anyone to pick up, because I mean, that brand is a brand of a family.
Yes, and it's a hard brand to really try to, really try to copy after, and if for people that try to do that, because there's only one of a kind for the
you have to be
name.
a part of it
Right.
in order for it to be legitimate. And when Tanya and Michael moved back from Texas, that wasn't at the core of our thinking when we got up and sang that Sunday morning.
Oh, okay.
But all we wanted to do was see the folks get blessed, because
Right.
we knew that some of that old music that we'd grown up with, there's quite a large following.
It is.
Still.
It still is.
So when we sang that Sunday morning, that was not on our mind. And when my son was the one that come up, he after that Sunday morning, he said, Dad, he said, we got a really good video recording of that song this morning. And he said,
Until you know the love of
yeah.
God. Okay.
At our church, we have a full array of HD broadcast equipment. We broadcast every Sunday. So once it was committed to videotape, he said, well, just for grins, why don't you let me throw it up on YouTube and see if anybody wants to watch it. And when he did, it started, getting a lot of hits, and then promoters started calling. And
what's the name of your group?
Yeah, that's right. A fella here in Tulsa, Frank Arnold.
I was at the first concert.
Well, he's the first one that called us, and this is the first place we came to.
Oh, okay.
Frank really got the ball rolling for us, and I don't know if he realized what he had done, and we didn't know at the time that it was going to be anything other than just a one-off. We just go sing for him and remember the music of the Goodmans, and it'll be fun, and we'll get to see some of our friends. And
it was great that night.
We had a great time.
It was so funny. At the halftime of that, I walked up to Mr. Sykes, Michael Sykes, and I asked him, I said, can I put in a request for second half? And he said, what is it? I said, when morning sweeps the eastern sky. He says, we're never going to do that song. Because I love to hear the Goodmans sing that. Only they could have that style that could sing that song.
Oh, it's a tough one to do.
Oh, yes.
By the way, we have recorded that.
Oh.
We haven't released it.
I hope you do.
It's in the can.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
But, you have to eat your Wheaties to sing that song.
Oh. Convention songs are hard, but they're so good.
They're full of energy and a lot of excitement. Yeah.
They are. For all of you that watched the National Quartet Convention, I did this last week on webinar. Were y'all actually at the Quartet Convention?
No, we were invited to come on Thursday night and couldn't do that. Then they invited us for Saturday night and we couldn't do that. So this year we just were not able to make it happen.
Well, I remember y'all were there last year.
We
were.
But
on Saturday morning, I watched the General Overseer of the Church of God, Dr. Tim Hill. Yes.
Good friend of mine.
And you wrote a song with Dr. Tim Hill on your first album.
And the second one.
Oh, okay. Which one on the second?
Second one is Dying to Tell You I Love You.
Okay, I was wondering. I was thinking that's not an older Goodman song.
No.
Okay, that's a great song. I like that.
Thank
I didn't know
Yeah.
actually who wrote that.
Yeah.
But Dr. Tim Hill has wrote a lot of songs, and so I was just going to ask you in general about that. So how did that really get started? Did y'all write for a long time?
No, actually, our relationship probably goes back about a decade. Dr. Hill wanted me to come and preach a special service for a lot of his state overseers around the country.
Okay.
And he had 26, 27, maybe even as many as 30 different states represented at that meeting, and he just asked me if I'd come sing a little bit and preach a sermon and just kind of encourage all of his state overseers. And that's where we met.
Wow.
And then when he wasn't preaching somewhere, he'd drive up from Cleveland to River of Life, come hear me preach on Sunday morning. And of course, he is a tremendous speaker.
He is.
I've had him at all my camp meetings that I do every year at our home church. And we just became really good friends. He'd drive up and spend the night with me at the house, and we'd get up and write songs. And so over the past 10 years or so, we've become very close friends and writing buddies. And I just finished producing a recording on him.
Oh,
it's
good.
a great record. You can get it on iTunes if you want to try to look for it.
Okay, I will, because he is a great singer. I did not know he wrote In the Midst of It All, and He's Still in the Fire.
Yeah.
I did not know he had wrote all those songs, but amazing. And I just wanted to ask you about that while I had you here.
Yeah.
One final question. I ask almost everybody I interview this, and the very first person I ask it to says it's self-incriminating, and sometimes it's like that. And So, when it's all said and done, what do you want your life to have said to others that you've got to live before, preach before, and even sing before? Do you have an answer? Or
I would. I think it would be that the grace and mercy of God has been extended to us, regardless of how many times that we've messed up.
Yes.
How deep we've gone in sin, how many times we've failed God. There's no way to measure. I love the lyrics of an old hymn of the church, The Love of God.
No way to measure
If
it.
we with ink the ocean fill, and were the skies of parchment made, where every stalk on earth a quill, and every man a scribe by trade, to write the love of God above
Would drain
would drain the ocean dry, nor could the scroll contain the whole, though stretched from sky to sky. O love of God, His mercy and His grace, and we're so undeserving of all that He has extended to us, but because of His Son, Jesus, He has extended His love to us.
Wow.
And that's my song, that's my message.
What an incredible story and song and testimony. And what an incredible life overall. Thank you so much, Mr. Minick, for doing this with us today.
I appreciate meeting you today.
And everyone, we will see you next month on Exclusive.
Thank you.